Hello and welcome. In Insight today, we are going to look at two major events of the day. The terror attack in the United States that has shaken the world and BJP's ongoing national executive meet in Allahabad. The United States was shaken early Sunday by a terror attack in which a 29-year-old gunman opened fire in a gay nightclub in the U.S. state of Florida, killing 50 people. The attacker, Omar Mateen, was a New York-born resident who was later killed in police firing. An American-born man who'd pledged allegiance to ISIS gunned down 50 people early Sunday at a gay nightclub in Orlando. The deadliest mass shooting in the United States and the America's worst terror attack since 9/11. The gunman, 29-year-old Omar Mateen of Florida, was interviewed by the FBI in 2013 and 2014, but was not found to be a threat. Mateen reportedly called 9/11 during the attack to pledge allegiance to ISIS and mentioned the Boston Marathon bombers. Mateen carried an assault rifle and a pistol into the packed Pulse Club about 2 a.m. Sunday and started shooting, killing 50 people and wounding at least 53, as said by the police. After a standoff of about 3 hours, while people trapped inside the club desperately called and messaged friends and relatives, police crashed into the building with an armored vehicle and stun grenades and killed Mateen. Flags were lowered to half-staff at the White House after the attack. President Barack Obama described the worst mass shooting in U.S. history as an act of terror and an act of hate, saying the massacre of 50 people at a packed gay nightclub was an attack on all Americans.
We pray for their families who are grasping for answers with broken hearts. We stand with the people of Orlando who have endured a terrible attack on their city. Although it's still early in the investigation, we know enough to say that this was an act of terror and an act of hate. And as Americans, we are united in grief, in outrage, and in resolve to defend our people. I just finished a meeting with FBI Director Comey and my Homeland Security and National Security advisors. The FBI is on the scene and leading the investigation in partnership with local law enforcement. I've directed that the full resources of the federal government be made available for this investigation. We are still learning all the facts. This is an open investigation. We've reached no definitive judgment on the precise motivations of the killer. The FBI is appropriately investigating this as an act of terrorism, and I've directed that we must spare no effort to determine what, if any, inspiration or association this killer may have had with terrorist groups. What is clear is that he was a person filled with hatred. Over the coming days, we will uncover why and how this happened, and we will go wherever the facts lead us.
So the American president there calling it an act of terror and an act of hate, and he also gave the information that FBI is investigating the case as an act of terrorism. The attack is termed as the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. In fact, according to an independent research, the U.S. last year suffered about 372 mass shootings in which about 475 people lost their lives. What is basically the message, the larger message that one will have to read? To discuss more on this, I'm joined by Mr. Hari Kumar. He is correspondent, New York Times, and Dr. Vaila Sachavad, who is South Asia Bureau Chief with Sana. Welcome to the program. Well, Mr. Hari Kumar, let's first try and understand as to why was a gay club chosen and at this juncture, which is certainly considered as a very, very important time for America.
This guy told his father that I hate this, and he saw somebody, they were kissing each other, and he saw my son also saw this thing, and I hate this. This is what his father told to the media. And in general, the ISIS, I mean, there are examples when ISIS people threw people from building tops when they found them, then they are the gays. So these people, they hate this culture. But somehow his exact links and his exact organic link with the ISIS are not very clear.
Right.
They say, even the President Obama said that this is an act of hate and act of terror, but he also said that his organic link with these terrorist organizations or with the Islamic organization are not very clear. So, it is a matter of investigation. But as far as whatever we know so far, I mean, he was a man who was full of hate. And he did it, and this is also raises serious questions on the prevailing gun culture in the US. I mean, so far every president comes and goes, and they try to check this gun culture, and they couldn't check this gun culture. So serious questions on the, I mean, they could check so many other things, but they couldn't check this gun culture. So there are serious questions about how they do, how they try to control this thing.
And were there signs of the same, inability to check this culture? Were they very evident in President Obama's his observations, his speech?
Throughout his tenure, President Obama tried to control it, but he couldn't control it throughout his tenure. And I think he would be living as a president, as a dejected president, as a uncomfortable man, that he couldn't do anything. And he is saying that either we take a decision, or even not to take a decision is a decision himself, a decision itself. He said this thing. So, among the statistics as far as the gun culture in US are concerned, very serious. Every 16 minutes, one person die. Every 16 minutes, one person die, right? And this year, as far as the present, so far the data is concerned, this year it looks like that it will surpass all the other previous years, and about 33 to 35,000 people in America will die because of gun culture.
According to various analysis, one reads it, Dr. Awad, and that is that the trend in America is much different than that in other countries, where in other countries you see the use of bombs and grenades and whatnot. In America, it's about guns. Is it to do with the way in which everybody has this open access to guns, and which is why it's a different kind of terrorism or different face of terrorism that one gets to see in America?
Well, I was there last March. I was in US, and I have interacted with many of my friends in the United States, and we know that nobody in the United States sleeps without the gun under his pillow. So it's a part of their history that they have grown up with the guns, should be in the house, one gun a minimum license. But that is why the issue was raised, because you have a new generation, you have a new things in the world. People are taking the law into their own hand. They're losing control. They're into drugs. They're into terrorists. They're radical elements. They're attacking school. If you look at the chronology of the attacks, and I said, as Harry has been saying, and you said in the beginning, it shows that there is a problem, a real problem, real crisis in the United States to address this issue, which has been repeatedly done by all the American presidents, but they fail to do so because that's a part of their DNA, which is unable to come out of it. The second part, which is more important to me, I mean, I was shocked to read in the newspaper today, like I'm reading the newspaper, that John Brennan, the chief of the CIA, saying that Saudi Arabia has nothing to do with the 9/11 attack. When everybody knows that 15th of the attackers of the American WTC were Saudi national, born and grown up in the United States, and yet he's refusing to accept because money matter. Similar fashion in the UN, where the General Secretary Ban Ki-moon said that under the pressure of the Saudis, he has to pull out, that they are not putting it on the terrorist list of the attacking Saudi-led operation in Yemen. My point I'm drawing to here is that you have to address the real issues. You cannot speak that there is a local terror, there's an international terror, there's a transporter terror. Terrorists can attack anywhere in the world. The questions you raise here is he an Afghani origin? What's happening in Afghanistan?
Right.
The people having the sentiments, the people are attached to their homeland. Still, no matter the first generation, second generation, look what happened in Belgium, look what happened in France, look what happened in England, look what happened in Boston. Every part of these operations, all these people have somehow link, whether they are the first or the second or the third generation of their own people, immigrant family. So we need to see in larger perspective the issues really and address it in introspective way. You cannot sponsor, shelter, abet terrorists somewhere in the world, and you come back home and say, I'm a democracy and I'm
going to be safe.
And I'm safe. My heart bleeds with the families of those who lost their life. I sympathize with every American citizen who have lost their life. I really feel so pain because this is a real, it's inhuman, it's an outrageous, it is an act of terror, no doubt about it. You cannot go and kill. This is the most soft, vulnerable target you can go, walk into the club or walk into the street or blow up yourself in a mall or in a restaurant or anywhere. These are acts of people who become desperate, who are wanted to show that they are hero, they can achieve something in the name of religion, where religion has nothing to do with it. It is just the doctrine, the intoxication that they have built up in those terrorist or radical elements, that they have let them free, frisk risk-free. I mean, FBI interviewing them, interrogating him 3 times.
3 times,
And yet-
2013, 14, and they had no proof of
No
it.
proof. And yet, when the American Munir Abu Suleiman, the guy who blew up himself, the first American last year in Syria, blew up himself, and then they started questioning him, what link you're having with him? And they came up with the discussion that he had
But you see,
nothing.
there is this thing about the lone attackers too. When they attack, when they are termed as lone actors. And the fact that, Hari Kumar, how would you like to respond to that? The fact that there is some sort of a connection which is later on drawn to some or the other extremist group. It could be to do with Al-Qaeda, it could be to do with the Islamic State militants. But how do you look at the way in which the state there has or has not been able to tackle these lone attackers? Because that has been one of the trends seen in these instances of mass shootings.
So there is a famous speech by al-Baghdadi, and in that speech he motivated people that lone wolves, that was the term given. So he motivated the people that individuals can do it, but they have to expressly tell the allegiance that they belong to, or they are doing it, or they are motivated because of IS, or because of some other organization. So in this case, this guy made a phone call and he said that IS, I belong to, I am doing it for that. And then you link it to that previous speech that the individual or lone, because that's much safer for them. Because as far as America is concerned, if you are doing it in an organized manner, it will be difficult to do it. But if you are doing it as lone person, because the guns are available, cartridges are, the ammunition is available, so you can do it.
And
but
this is
if
the
you are-
deadliest. This
Yeah,
is the deadliest
this
way
is
of
the-
approaching
this
something.
is the
Right.
deadliest. So if you are doing it in an organized plot, then probably it will be difficult to break the security cordons in America, because they have very tightened it after 9/11. But if you will try to do it as a lone person, probably you may succeed. And this is what is happening in last 2-3 attacks. If we see, all the people, they were alone. Even in the last attack which took place in California, so that couple was alone. I mean, there were no organic link found so far that they were given some kind of support or some kind, except that they were impressed by the ideology.
You know, there
and now
is-
if somebody is
Yeah.
willing to die, then it's very difficult to control that person.
There is this very interesting thing which I was reading somewhere, that it happens to be a very important juncture where the 3 most contentious questions in American culture and politics are now colliding in a very horrific way, and that is the gay rights, gun control and terrorism. Is that so?
Yes. It's to be seen that how the new president will try to tackle these issues. These are the serious issues. These are the issues related to enforcement. I mean, as far as the gun culture is concerned, the Americans have to think and they have to emerge as a society to deal with this problem. I mean, I was reading in our paper in the New York Times that to control the ladder, how do you use the ladder? How do you use the ladder in your houses or public places? There is a 7-page manual, but there is no such thing exist for the guns. Because of the ladder, 300 people die in United States of America. Because of the gun culture, thousands of people die. But to control the gun culture, you do not have any such manual. To control the ladder, how do you use the ladder? You have a 7-page manual.
But
how do you use the swimming pool? How do you use the so many other things? And they could control all these things. They could control the road accidents very effectively. But they couldn't control this gun culture so far very effectively. How do they do it? And now because of these individual motivated, because of the ideology, and they are coming and creating havoc on the roads or the clubs or the colleges, etc., they have to think how to control this.
And is it going to be very difficult now, since you mentioned something of the background of Omar Mateen, the fact that he happens to be a New York born resident, but he has Afghan origins. So what about the other aspects related to the American society? Is there an assimilation of the kind which has happened, especially of the Muslims and those who belong to places like Afghanistan? Or is there enough ground for these men to be, swayed by what the IS propagates and, be used as a weapon?
This is a very important question, Shalini, you have raised, which is we have been trying to address. How to recruit radical elements into this. You look at the criminals who have been recruited. Most of the people who have gone to Syria from all over the world, including the Americans, are either the petty criminals, either they have visited the jail, or they are drug addicts. There is nothing a person who has been PhD scholars who has run an education that he is going to breach, or he is going to prove that there is an IS state inside Syria. Daesh has been created that phenomenon there. But having said that, I would also see that those radical elements, they were not able to integrate within the society. There is always a small element of those population who are unable to accept the democracy, the heterogeneous society, to be integrated into that part of this, accept gay or accept anything of that sort, that how the people culture really is existing. So these people are easy recruit when you allow Saudis, Wahhabism, Salafists to open a mosque, or the Imam himself is being bought by these people, and these people go for the prayer, and you are already giving the sermon, brainwashed him, and you show him this picture of killing inside his own hometown, and he wanted to prove that to his country that he can be a hero and defend their pride by blowing up himself, because the paradigm shift of the terrorist organization also have changed from a small scale war now where they're running friskly free inside Syria and Iraq, where they are now running for their life. They are going now for a culture of blowing up themselves, a suicidal operation. So it's easy to wake up those sleeping cells all over the world because you do not address these issues. Who are the people who are sponsoring terrorists? Who are the people who is really radicalizing these people inside the mosque or the holy shrines or anybody using these people, vulnerable people? Look at the Al-Qaeda in the United States. How did they have recruited? Who were these people recruited for in 9/11? They were already in the bar, they were a disco, they were a drug dealers, but they were able, those people infiltrated them, show them that what you are doing is wrong. You should be now go to salvation. You will go to heaven and have all your 72 virgin, and then by blowing up yourself.
Yeah.
So this guy is being brainwashed, intoxicated, and here a culture where the gun is available. Look at the rifle he was carrying with him, and another pistol. My God, this is what? Is he in a war zone? He's in the United States, for God's sake. So if these issues are not really taken up and addressed, because it is a fatal mixture now you are having. You said it. It is the religion, it is the hatred to the society where you are, and unable to integrate, and then you're having the gun culture.
Right.
If these people are not able to address this issue properly, I think the next president of the United States will face the music from anybody, from the public, because it is a time where the public of these countries, even in respective countries of Europe, start asking their government, what are you doing elsewhere in the world?
But you know, I wonder, because there is a comparison which has been drawn with the 9/11 attacks, because anything severe of any nature, if it happens in America, it becomes, because we know how Indian society suffers with such attacks. But let's look at what happened post 9/11. Is a similar crackdown now really going to happen in America? Are things really going to get worse for people who are staying there in that country, waiting for that assimilation to happen?
Well, it will be happen because if they are grading him as a Democrat, he has killed himself, Mateen, as a Democrat. That means it is already an election issue. Trump tonight will be very happy to blow up Obama and the other issues about the anti-Muslim sentiment in the United States. That is going to happen there. But I don't see much of changes in the United States policy, because here you are not even addressing the real issue. In the United States, 11 September, instead of going to Afghanistan, they went to Iraq. They had a different compass, their direction. You need to address terrorism. If you don't address these issues of radicalization of people who are sitting and teaching this anti-sermon, anti-human, heterogeneous society, then we are heading for more trouble. These are the issues the United States should address, not by only selectively go and attack certain population, that these are the vulnerable people that should be attacked. The issue should be addressed as a whole.
But you see, post 9/11, much was talked about America's counter-terrorism strategy. And after this, if something like this happens, where there is a lone attacker, now, of course, he's seen as an affiliate of the Islamic State militants. But, you know, what does it really say about America's approach towards terrorism, and the fact that there is indeed going to be a leadership change in America?
I think the anti-terrorism network and anti-terrorism measures in America are quite strong. And other countries needs to learn their lessons. For example, they could effectively control the flow of money. They could effectively control the radicalization as far as the mosques are concerned. But nowadays, you need not to go to the mosque for radicalization. You go to the social media and everything is there. This guy, I mean, the Maulvi of the mosque was telling that this was a quiet guy. He will come quietly. He will go quietly. He was not talking to anybody. So he need not to learn his lessons of radicalization in a mosque, right? Yeah. But he can get everything there on the social media. So by this incident, the question in my mind is that when he was investigated twice or thrice, and then he was investigated for his links with this guy who went to Syria, the US citizen Abu Salah, right? And after that, he could buy the guns. That is a serious question in my mind. After all, if he was in that kind of radar, there must be some mechanism. If somebody is buying the gun, then there should be some numbers of identification numbers or social security numbers will be fed in, and then his whole background will become. And then there should be some alert to go to the investigating agencies or anti-terror agencies that this guy was there on that radar. Now he is buying guns. Now he is buying ammunition. So there should have been some alert somewhere. Here I see a little bit of lacking on their part, but beyond that, I mean, this kind of guy, an individual, he was buying the guns legally. He was not buying the guns illegally. That kind of bore, that kind of guns you can buy there in the US market.
But what
he
do you
bought the guns
think-
legally.
Yeah, what do you
Right.
think could have been the larger message here? Let's say if Islamic State is behind these attacks, then what is the larger message for America?
Well, this is a matter of investigation to what extent they are behind these attacks.
That's
If
right.
this
Okay.
guy only says
Fine.
that I was motivated by
See,
them,
one of the
then you
things is
can't.
that the IS has posted the photograph of the US, this shooter, but otherwise even the FBI is very tight-lipped right now. In fact, you don't really seem to be getting clarity as to whether Islamic State indeed was behind the attack.
But that takes time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that the terrorist attacks immediately took place and then FBI can tell you the whole commentary. It's not a cricket match that they are watching and they are doing the cricket commentary. But just imagine the situation. This guy was born in America. This guy got education in America. This guy was having a cozy job. He was married. He had a flat. He has an apartment, right? Of course, there were some troubles in his marriage, right? His wife complained that he was a bit erratic behavior. But that is there happening with so many other people. So what was the wrong with this guy? He was a second or third generation. He was not a first generation.
Right.
The Molvi is telling that he is a quiet guy. He'll come and go quietly. So whatever he was getting through the social media. And then still, we cannot say that he did it because of religion or he did it because of gay culture, that he was opposing the gay culture. If he is doing it because of gay culture, then the religion is not there. If he was doing that because of the religion, all those facts have yet to, we do not know that part.
So that unclarity still remains, but there are indeed lessons for America. That
Yes,
you would
yes,
agree.
there are.
And the ones are
I mean,
around
there
the
should
gun-
have been some alert to some investigating agencies when this guy is already investigated by 2 times or 3 times by the FBI. Why there should have been some automatic alert gone to some agencies that this guy is buying the guns. There, I think that there is some lacuna. All those measures should be strengthened further, learning by this episode.
Well, I think till now we don't have the blueprint of the 11th, what happened in 11 September. So we don't know really what was the background of it. That's why the conspiracy theory has always been there. Everybody talks about
Yes.
it. In a similar fashion, unless and until we have the blueprint of what's going on in the United States, a person like him working since 2007 in one of the largest security company in the world, leading into many of the issues, which is now you can see online, that it is involved in some immigrations, illegal immigration, involved in many other way on the border, and this guy had access to it, that if this money can do things for him, it can change his mindset, could be another reason for that. He could have been much more dangerous inside the company rather than going and attacking this vulnerable small club. That means he must have had something in his mind. He's been radicalized online. He has been reading things online. He has been incited by some other people. Maybe he was under drugs. That's the United States has to address these issues to the public there, because the public in the United States really are unaware what's the foreign policies being carried out by the decision maker in the White House or in the Pentagon. I think it's a high time where the public has to have a saying in the decision making, not only in the United States, all over the world. We should know that public are being subjected and putting at ransom because of the irrational behavior of certain government, that they are supporting terrorism in Syria, for example, in Iraq. You had the phenomenon of IS, which is going to weather now, because by 2017 we are expecting, but that's not the end of terrorism, because terrorism will spread more, and it's a mobile unit now. You do not need months and to draft and to plan. You have everybody all over the world. They can have access within a minute. They can make up from your making up kits or from your nail polish material. They can make a bomb. So it is a time for us to be more aware and have sharing the collateral, share the data with each country to find out. If somebody giving you alert that this terrorist has a link or has a telephone call to Al-Nusra in Syria front, which is Al-Qaeda affiliated, and you say it's a moderate terrorism in Syria, there is no moderate or hard terrorism. Terrorism is one. Please, for God's sake,
But the country's
address
report
it.
does not even recognize Syria as affected by terrorism. They say that, the report that way was silent. Let me just ask you this question.
One
Mr.
more
Ari
point
Kumar.
before
Yes,
you go ahead.
please.
One more point. I do not think that this guy was not trained. I'm of the opinion this guy was trained and he had some serious training. Why I say? The guy entered at the pub at about 2, right?
Right.
And then he was there. Finally, he was eliminated at 5 or so. So 3 hours he was there. There were 300 people inside
Yes,
inside the
held them
pub,
hostage.
and then he killed or wounded 1/3 of them. 100 people are either killed or wounded, and he kept on holding those people for 2 hours. So to handle those guns, to handle all 300
crowd,
people,
yeah.
crowd, right, and then to kill so many people, that kind of preciseness in your shooting, that you have killed already 100. I mean, he shot 100 people, 50 died, and 53 are wounded. So that kind of motivation level, that kind of mental strength, that kind of toughness, I mean, you need to have some training
You
somewhere.
know, indeed, this is not the right time to connect it with the political scenario there. But you see, Hari Kumar, do you think that there is obviously a point where the American society is agitated on the issues like terrorism, and that is going to reflect largely in the elections?
It is bound to reflect. If you see the first tweet by Mr. Trump, right? He said, "I'm getting congratulations, but I want more toughness. I want more security, etc., etc." Right? So it's bound to. It's a huge issue. It will be a huge issue there. I mean, 50 people getting killed in US by shooting. It will be a huge issue. It's bound to reflect in elections. Whether it will tilt the elections or not, I cannot say.
But do you see any
definitely it will
difference?
figure out in debates.
And indeed, there is a difference in America's approach towards these very nations, which some of them which are seen as victims of terrorism, the others, of course, seen as sponsors of terrorism. Do you see any visible change in America's attitude? And is that really going to change or shift because of the change of leadership?
I don't think so. I mean, these things doesn't changes very fast. These policies remain there. Of course, they do talk a lot about that. We will change this, we will change that. But these long-term policies remains there. And the foreign policies are always goes to, I mean, wherever your interests are serving. Your economic interest, you will go there. You will find out one logic to oppose. You will find out always logic to support a guy in one situation and to oppose the guy in another situation. And this is what every country is doing. I mean, America is not an exception. I mean, they support all kinds of regime all over the world. So America is one America which is inside the America, but America is a different America which is outside the America.
That's a very interesting point. But Dr. Awad, let's for once assume that there is indeed an extremist group behind these attacks. And if at all it's ISIS, what do you think is the larger message that they're conveying to America?
I think there is a public opinion now all over the world that the global community is really looking at the issue very seriously, that it is a time we should eliminate this monster from Syria and Iraq, because the way they are killing people, killing spree and destroying the civilized artifact and the civilization as such in Syria, they are not even sparing the stone which has been doing. I think it's a time now the people should really address this issue and let the people of the land decide their future. No need to have intervention in any country. You can support democracy. You can sponsor freedom of speech. You can sponsor human things, any value of it. We are all with you. When the United States was attacked on 11 September, we all sympathized with the United States. We wanted to go and fight the Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban because that was the message. But when you go to Iraq and you want us to come with you, it's difficult. You have to address issues. You have really to make us feel that there is a human suffering. The suffering in the United States is same like my people in Syria suffering, or in Iraq, or in Yemen, or in Libya. It is the same feeling, or in India. We are all victims of terrorism. So we need to see how we can plead for others, we sympathize with others when you don't look at us in the same eye. We have to see, we have to address these issues, and it's high time that we really should end supporting, sponsoring, sheltering, abating terrorism all over the world.
Fine. So it really opens a lot of questions for all these stakeholders, and especially for America. On that note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me here. Well, in Insight now, time for a very quick break. But after the break, we'll look at another important highlight of the day, which is the BJP's National Executive Meet. Welcome back. In Insight now, a look at the BJP's ongoing national executive meet. The focus is clearly on next year's assembly elections in various states, especially in the state of Uttar Pradesh. BJP President Amit Shah yesterday called on party workers to step up efforts to reach out to the masses and also spoke at length about Akhilesh government's law and order failures in UP and on electoral violence against party workers in Kerala and West Bengal.
The BJP's two-day national executive is underway in Allahabad to look for a winning formula for the next round of state assembly elections, especially the high-stakes poll in Uttar Pradesh. Senior cabinet ministers, chief ministers of BJP-ruled states, party MPs and other senior leaders are participating in the conclave. BJP President Amit Shah raised the issue of law and order failure in Mathura and Kairana town of Uttar Pradesh and called for ending the atmosphere of violence prevailing in the state due to lack of development and governance. UP is a state where the BJP performed exceptionally well during the last Lok Sabha elections. Winning Uttar Pradesh is crucial for the BJP and Shah's ambitious target of returning to power at the centre in 2019, with a greater majority than it got in 2014. Besides UP, there are polls in Uttarakhand, Punjab, Gujarat, Goa, Himachal Pradesh and Manipur in 2017. The BJP president called upon the party workers to work hard and expressed optimism on BJP's performance in upcoming elections. Though the BJP has kept analysts guessing on its possible chief ministerial candidate, the party's strategy in the run-up to next year's elections will be keenly watched. Bureau Report.
So there are any number of posters now in Uttar Pradesh displaying the header Mission 265 Plus, a term coined by BJP president who has repeatedly encouraged workers to aim at achieving a thumping majority for the party in 403-strong assembly of Uttar Pradesh. So are we witnessing a tactical shift in BJP's strategy to win the elections? How will it impact the prospects of other political parties? Well, to discuss more on this, I'm joined by Mr. Gaurav Vivek Bhatnagar, Deputy Editor with The Wire, and Mr. Ambikanand Sahai, who's a senior political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, Gaurav, let's first look at the latest which is coming, which is on the economic resolution, which has been passed now from this executive meet. But what exactly do you think is the focus? Is it largely on UP or, deciding a strategy for the upcoming elections?
I think the party has been saying all through that the main focus will be on development. But at the same time, from some of the utterances we've heard recently, it's also quite true that they don't want to give up on the soft Hindutva line. So, which is being towed in the case of Uttar Pradesh. It happens to be a very important state with the the state which sends 80 MPs
That's
to the
right.
Lok Sabha.
Yeah.
So the
The
largest
BJP
state.
did such a good show
so
last
they
Lok
performed
Sabha
really
elections.
well with getting 71 seats. So now they want to repeat that performance, but it's a different ball game altogether. So how do you reach out to the masses? The way forward is you take everybody along, but that may not probably work for them. So it's a mix of both. Like last time, I was just reading yesterday, there was a Sunday Guardian survey after the Lok Sabha elections, which said 10% of Muslims in Uttar Pradesh actually voted for BJP. So now what do you do? Like if you toe a hard line, these people go away. If you toe a soft line, you can probably end up losing the large Hindu vote to which you appeal through other measures. So it's a big balance. It's all about striking a balance between the two, and I think this is something.
This is an exercise towards that.
Yeah, this is an exercise.
But Mr. Sahai, interestingly, what has caught the attention of the media and has kept it hooked on to UP is the fact that who is going to be the chief ministerial candidate of BJP. But I think the party as a whole understands that it's beyond that candidate. It's the work that the party has to do, at the grassroots level. That's going to be important. Is the executive meet an exercise towards that direction?
Not necessarily. See, everybody knows, and that's BJP's perennial problem in UP. They face facelessness locally. Okay. Now that is why all these reports that some MP from here will go there later on as chief minister should the party win at the hustings. But as far as the national executive is concerned, three things are very noteworthy. Number one, in Mr. Amit Shah's address to the members of the executive, he made it very clear that the main pole plank would be development. And Modi ji is popularly known as Vikash Purush and all that, thanks to his performance in Gujarat. So they'll do that. But UP, as Gaurav also says, is a different ball game. After the Ram Mandir movement, you see, they somehow struck this theory that larger Hindu parivar needs to be united. And that is the only way they can do well in UP. Because the Dalits are already with Mayawati. The Yadav Muslim vote bank belongs to Mulayam Singh Yadav. Whether that remains with Mulayam Singh Yadav remains to be seen. Whether Priyanka Gandhi comes this time remains to be seen. And so many things could be possible in future. But the third point is that in his address, Mr. Shah also mentioned two names, Kairana and Meerut. You see, Kairana is very, very important.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that this time around, the BJP will give precedence to Kairana even over Ayodhya or Dadri.
So those are,
Yes,
as
yes.
one would
And,
look at.
and Kairana is already being described as a mini Kashmir. You see, the local MP of BJP there, Hukum Singh, he has not only written but in fact met Rajnath Singh ji, Union Home Minister, and said that 346 families have already fled. So, in what you describe as a mass exodus. Now, this is very, very serious. Very many reporters also went there and found that there is some truth in these allegations. Now, this is political dynamite. If you rake it up, well, again the society will be polarized. And once it is polarized, who gains? The BJP and the Samajwadi
So
Party.
is it different from its approach during the Lok Sabha elections in UP?
Yes, yes, obviously. See, Lok Sabha elections and assembly elections are two different things. In assembly, local issues like price rise, issues like law and order matter more.
And law and order is one of the
Yes,
things that
yes,
they're using
yes.
against
And
the
it has
incumbent
been,
government.
Yes, and in Delhi you saw, in Bihar you saw that you do need dynamic local leadership, especially when there are sparkling faces on the other side of the fence. You see, BSP has sparkling not in that sense, but then politically, yes.
Yeah. People vote for those leaders.
Yes, yes, yes.
So BJP needs to
Over
feel
the
somebody
years,
who has the
Mulayam Singh
dynamism.
Yadav has made himself almost synonymous with UP. You utter the word UP and one or two pictures come in.
So one just starts wondering that if the UP politics is synonymous with a couple of faces,
Yes.
how easy or difficult will it be for a party like the BJP to make a dent into that scenario?
You see,
you yourself said that Lok Sabha elections are different from the assembly
Yes,
elections.
again the party is banking more on the charismatic influence of Narendra Modi ji. And to be fair to the BJP, he does carry weight, no doubt about it. But I have my doubts that in local elections, in assembly elections, whether he will matter as much as he did in 2014.
Yeah, I think there are lessons then. You have the Delhi debacle and then followed by Bihar. But then, of course, there are things like Assam which have happened. And there was indeed a mention of how BJP has performed well in the last assembly elections in Assam, and its tally has improved indeed in other states. How do you look at all of that put together and BJP's strategy, which is, I'm sure, at the center of it all?
See, this issue of personality clashes, as far as when it comes to BJP, it can be both the things. Either they can announce a chief ministerial candidate, or as they did in, say, Assam, or they can go without one, as they did it, say, in Haryana or Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Neither Manohar Lal Khattar in Haryana nor Devendra Fadnavis were anywhere in the contention for the chief ministerial post before the elections.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how they perceive the internal fights turning out, whether you tell your prominent leaders like be it Yogi Adityanath, Varun Gandhi, Smriti Irani, just go do your best. At the end of it all, we'll see what we have to do. Because right now, if you announce a chief ministerial candidate, the chances are the others might get annoyed with it. It
You
may
see, every
antagonize the
state,
others.
Gaurav, that way has its own dynamics.
So it
You
has
see-
its own dynamics.
Yeah.
So I think this is another crucial call they have to take, whether they want to go with a name. In Delhi, they went with, say, Kiran Bedi's name. Did it help? Answer is no. Even in the previous election in Delhi, they announced Vijay Kumar Malhotra's name. Did it help? Answer is no. They were probably winning at that point of time.
But you
And
see,
it-
Delhi
Yeah.
is seen differently as
Yeah.
compared to a state like Bihar or Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah.
You see, because you mentioned Haryana and Maharashtra,
Yeah.
and between Haryana and Maharashtra and Assam, Bihar and Delhi happened. So
But UP happens to be a state where you have 3-4 major players.
Mm-hmm.
So all a party needs to do is get around that 33-35% vote share mark,
Yeah.
and you are almost through. All the others will be in those 20 to 30 percentage point range. So you need 33 out of 100 people on your side to make it in UP. That's not the case in other states where it used to be a direct contest. In Haryana, primarily Maharashtra, it was a direct contest between two groups, NDA
and it is
and
not
UP
so
alliance.
here.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
So
not
it's
so
not so here.
And you know,
So-
it is also said that it's not just about development. What about the, Mrs. Sahai, what about social engineering? Something which, you know, UP is probably a place where there are indeed a lot of opportunities of the kind.
Of course, there are. And you raised a very important point, Shalini. And let me tell you, see, the scene has dramatically changed in Western UP, also in Eastern UP, if you compare it from last time. In neighboring Haryana, you saw Jats revolted against the establishment, or to be precise, call it against the BJP. Okay? And these Jats had in masse voted for BJP in 2014. And Jats are in a doldrums now at this point of time, despite the efforts of Balyan or Sangeet Som and so many people. Now the challenge before the BJP is to rope them back into their fold. How do they do it? That's why I say Kairana is could be one possibility. Not that they have finally decided upon it, but I got enough hints yesterday. Okay. As for, see, we must know the state in detail. In Western UP, you see this Kairana or the neighboring areas of Saharanpur, Muzaffarnagar, even up to Aligarh, was a stronghold, you may remember, you may recall, of Mahendra Singh Tikait, who had de facto established a parallel government there in the 1980s. Very aggressive people, and hardly 100 kilometers away from Delhi. And before that, it was a stronghold of Chaudhary Charan Singh, and he had formed this grouping called Ajgar, Ahir, Jat, Gujar and Rajputs. And with the addition of Muslims, it became Majgar. Now, that's history.
Right.
The Ajgar and Majgar both have withered away.
Right.
See, Gujars are with Mayawati. Jats were with the BJP. Now they are in doldrums. Ahirs are with Mulayam Singh Yadav. So that's why a larger Hindu grouping under one umbrella. I think BJP, everything, you know, is fair in love, war and politics. So
That's a third dimension.
Yes, they'll try and do this. But it's fair.
One will have
In
to
election times, yes, everybody works to his or her
But that's
interest.
too much of mathematics.
I think it's working out in a slightly different way this time.
Okay.
2007 was when Mayawati actually surprised us all, when she had this thumping victory.
Yeah.
And it was a
With the aid of Brahmins.
Yeah, with
again.
the aid of Brahmins.
Yeah.
Now, this time, BJP, it perceives Brahmins to be on its side, and now it wants to have these Dalit votes. So, be it the case of State Unit Women's Mahila Morcha President Madhu Mishra, who was expelled from the party for her anti-Dalit utterances, or bringing in MBC, a most backward class state unit president.
That's right.
Yeah. So they've been trying to woo the backward caste.
Backward caste, that's right.
So that is
Replacing the
there.
Brahmins.
But when it comes to, at the same time, you know, what is unfortunate is this politics of religion which is being played out. Kirana, if you look at it closely, I was just going through the videos yesterday. It's more of a law and order problem. See, two brothers, brothers who went to trading, they were shot dead over there 2 years back. That triggered what they are calling a migration from the place. But even prior to that, families were already moving out for economic reasons.
Okay.
The place wasn't doing too great in terms of like business opportunities and other things. Children were moving out because of education. But yeah, some families did move out. At the same time, and if you look at all the grievances of the residents of those, especially the Jain Mohalla, the Mohalla Kayaswada over there, they all say that extortion is becoming rampant over here.
Okay.
People would just get slips at their shops or thrown near their houses demanding ransom. Police would not act on their complaints. And once somebody gets shot, obviously it creates a fear psychosis. So this is what is happening. But it's a purely law and order situation where those people should have been caught who were doing this, because, you know, yesterday there was a statement by the state police also on how 150 Muslim families have also migrated from there.
So, you know, all of this
So see,
put together.
if Muslims are also moving out,
Yeah.
it just shows that the entire area is becoming unsafe for people in general. It's not about a particular community.
But you see the message that is conveyed.
If you're not controlling
Yeah.
crime, people will move out. Anybody who is well-to-do will move out. So it's that kind of a scenario. You have to tackle it as a law and order problem, not as a religious problem.
But do you think, Gaurav, that, you know, this whole law and order issue, is it really going to backfire on Akhilesh government? Though this has been, in fact, at
this
the
has
heart
been-
of, you know, UP politics.
This
and
has been the
elections.
issue with the Samajwadi Party
Absolutely.
government every time.
Yeah.
Every time you go into the villages, they would say our daughters coming or going to school, they feel unsafe when this government is there. Because there are so many cases of girls being picked up along the way, being harassed on the way, and the police not doing anything. So, see, these are law and order issues which need to be tackled that way. In Delhi recently, a businessman was shot dead in Northwest Delhi
Yes.
for
Yes.
over an extortion bid. Now, what do you call it? Here it's a Hindu versus Hindu. So, you don't give it a communal color. In Kirana, it happens to be a Muslim killer and probably a Hindu victim, so it gets a different color.
Let's look at the prospects now,
Yeah.
because BJP is really counting a lot on the state of UP, and there is a lot of confidence that one can gauge here. The fact that there is a mission 265 plus, and
Yeah.
Amit Shah has announced it. He has won states through his, and of course on UP they rest their 2019 stakes too on the Lok Sabha elections. Mr. Sahai, what is it that's really adding to BJP's confidence, and how do you see its prospects? Too early to say, but anyway, it's important to look at it.
You see, the number of Muslims are rather high in UP, being so close to Delhi, and this was seat of power during the Turco-Afghan period and Mughal period. So, historic reasons why number of Muslims are high. I think they gain their confidence from what happened in Assam. There are too many Muslims there also. And there they could win. How could they win? They brought in the Bodo people
That's right.
with them,
Yeah.
and also
The AGP.
Assam Gun Parishad.
That's right.
So, and the perception that Congress is a pro-Muslim party, and Badruddin Ajmal thing, so I am not trying to go into details in Assam,
Assam, that's
but
right.
a largely Muslim predominant area, they could win so handsomely. So,
Would
they-
it be same here in UP, where
No,
you have
no.
Mayawati and you have...
No, it will be the same here only if, as Mr. Amit Shah says, that their prime rival is Mulayam Singh Yadav. See the two poles.
If it gets,
yes,
which
yes,
is
yes.
indeed the case. We all know that UP is is voting on those lines, has been voting on those
It
lines.
has been, but now at the current period, if we discuss now what is happening now, my report says that Mayawati is super number one at this point of
Let's-
time. That
you-
might change.
you know,
that might change.
What I find very interesting is that the whole focus is on UP. There's a lot of counting which is done on UP. Let's look at other states. You have Uttarakhand,
And there are reasons for
Punjab,
that.
Gujarat,
I know.
Goa,
But
Himachal Pradesh, Manipur.
You
Yes,
see,
this is how-
Mr. Modi owes his prime ministership primarily to the victory in UP, and Mr. Shah owes his presidentship of the party largely because his victory in UP. He was the man on the spot, and Mr. Modi himself described Shah as the man of the match. Man of the series was Rajnath Singh, who was party president, and Mr. Modi described Mr. Shah as man of the match,
Right.
because he was looking after UP as a poll manager, and he did fantastically well, no doubt about it. So this could also be one reason why they are feeling confident,
Okay.
that now that Shah is at the helm of affairs, he knows UP very well and how to go about it.
And do you think that there's going to be any change in the BJP strategy? Though, you know, some reflections of it one can sense now, but, you know, do you think that it's going to change, since it is in fact bringing some sort of
much of
in
a change,
strategies?
because in his heart of hearts, in their heart of hearts, all the BJP people know that apart from the charismatic influence of Mr. Modi, you see, that kind of UP result was possible in the aftermath of Muzaffarnagar riots. We must remember that. So, Mr. Modi's charisma, and then the after effects of Muzaffarnagar riots. And I don't think this time the situation will change that much.
Okay.
And that's why their confidence.
Okay.
See,
The
I
others,
think-
the others are also preparing.
See, one thing is the issue. BJP said it has said very clearly said its focus will be on Kirana.
Yeah.
Kirana is emerging to a major issue. Now, this is again closely related
beside
to
is that Minister
Muzaffarnagar.
Yeah.
This is again because it is being said over there that a
And
lot of people.
parallelly, there is a thing on economy.
Yeah.
On economic
because
growth,
it is
on
being
development.
said over there that almost 50,000 people who migrated from Muzaffarnagar, they came over here. That changed the demographics
dynamics
of the
over there. Okay,
place,
okay.
and that is leading to problems. See, but the problem with over here is if BJP equates this UP scenario too closely with the Assam model, where it was like fear of, in that case, Bangladeshis on one side, and the talk of development on the other. Over here, if you want to transpolate it to, say, another fear psychosis of how people are being forced to migrate, and on the other hand, we are promising you development. The risk over here is if Muslims feel insecure, they'll gravitate towards BSP in large numbers.
Okay.
There are 19% Muslims in the state, 21% Dalits. Both the communities, Dalits have been voting for Mayawati lock, stock and barrel. And with Muslims coming in, they'll form a formidable opposition to the BJP.
Fine.
So
Fine.
BJP has to decide like whether you want to create a fear psychosis among Hindus, or whether if it goes towards Muslims, then it creates troubles for
Very
them.
calculated
Yeah.
moves
Yeah.
are something which has to be
Yeah.
done, and most of it certainly will be done at this meet and in the consecutive sessions that are really going to take place. On that note, I'll have to wrap this discussion, gentlemen. Quite a pleasure having you all here. Thank you. And that's all for now in Insight. We'll wrap this discussion. Thank you. Goodbye.